vehicle. I traded the 2022 Tahoe RST gas 5.3 for a Duramax 3-liter Chevy High Country Silverado. So it's a little bit frustrated with the towing on the big trailer that's behind the truck here. 18-foot trailer pulling my Polaris is getting 7 miles to the gallon, and I got about 175 miles of tank capacity off of that. Kind of messed me up a little bit as far as that 7 miles per gallon. I couldn't even go from where I live to Land Between the Lakes to ride and then back without needing to stop twice to fuel up. So I had the 3-liter diesel with a GMC Sierra AT4. I switched to the Tahoe, wanting some of the cargo space for some other projects, and just wasn't using it. So got a chance to get out with no negative equity and run into something that I'd rather enjoy. So the High Country package I actually picked by accident. It was a originally going in to look at a Denali with a 3-liter, and I saw the High Country, and the High Country obviously pretty close to the AT4. I'm not old enough yet for a Denali, so it's kind of where that started. So it's gonna be a 2-part video on this, on the detail inside. I actually did a little bit of video on the Tahoe when I did the graphene coating on it, and some of it didn't come out the way that I wanted. I really lost the opportunity to do it because it didn't have enough. Camera shuts off in the middle of when you're talking. You don't realize it till later on. It's not a good thing. So I get started from scratch. So this first video is going to be wash and decon on the High Country. So I got this from the dealer. It was on the lot, and I told the salesman, I said, don't send it to prep for cleanup before I pick it up. Just take the stickers off of it. He said, okay, fine. I said, I don't want him touching it. So picked this up from Pan the Organizer. Fresh vehicle detailing. You don't want to take any chance on rubbing any contaminants into it from its transit time. And you know, detail guys at Sarah Chevrolet and Jackson are fantastic people. The whole group at Sarah and Jackson is fantastic. But I'd rather do it myself, so I told them to leave it naked, and I'd take care of it. So this first video is going to be decon wash. So I got real aggressive with the soap. A lot more concentration on the soap than I would normally do because I have no finishes. I mean, no surfaces as far as wax to worry about removing or anything like that. So I basically went with Turtle Wax Max Power and a really strong concentration, which will increase the pH. It should get rid of whatever contaminants are left over, probably from rail, rust and stuff like that, iron ore. So hopefully that does. So I'll start off with the foam cannon with this. The surface is pretty warm, so I'm gonna have to be kind of quick with it. It's cold outside, but there's direct sunlight on the truck, so I'm doing all this like I talked about on my channel. A lot of guys do this kind of stuff in static environments. I don't have that ability. I've got to do it out here in the elements, so I'll have to be kind of quick with it as far as getting that off. And once I get that done, then I'm going to go behind it with clay bar. So I'll be using the Active 2.0 with the PF22 foam cannon, and the Active 2.0 is the electric pressure washer. If you look back at some of my other videos, you'll see it in there. Really impressed with it. Does a good job. I'm using the Adams clay bar sponge. So this to me is a lot easier than running around with a piece of clay. This isn't an exotic vehicle. You know, it's not a Porsche. Wish I was there, Pan. But anyhow, I'll go over the whole vehicle with a clay bar, make sure I get rid of any loose contaminants, and that's going to be the decon wash. So that should be the source of the first video. And then if you come back to the second video, if you stumble on this, you're going to get it by accident because my algorithm isn't enough to where people even see my videos. So, you know, if you guys like these videos, that helps me out a lot. But the second video is going to be So Nice Perfect Finish, topped with Turtle Wax, Graphene to the Max, Flex Wax, which is a graphene wax. And I'm really impressed with that. I used it on the big truck and I've used it on the Tahoe, and I really like the way it works. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and stop this part of it, and I'll put the wash in time lapse so that you don't have to sit there and watch somebody wash your car for 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes. All right, see you in a little bit. Okay, so I stopped time lapse. I'm not going to move the camera just for you to watch a repetition of what's on the other side. But I want to talk for just a second while this is a virgin surface with nothing on it. It's rough to the touch. My fingers will drag. If I was to take a microfiber cloth, you'd actually see it bite. My gloves won't because they're wet. But there's no smoothness to the surface whatsoever, which means it's easy for contaminants to adhere to the paint. We also have no hydrophobic properties to the virgin paint surface, so there's nothing on the paint. It's stripped. And there wasn't much on it when it was assembled. I'm sure they don't put anything on it. So I got a virgin surface to work for. I've got it clean by using a clay bar. I've gotten rid of all the contaminants that are on the paint that are removable. I didn't see any iron or anything like that going on. But the reason why you want to spend the money or the time, and I say money versus time, if you wonder why it costs so much to get a hand car wash done from a professional detailer, you just seen some of the steps. I'm basically following the same steps that they do. Wheels, tires, and rims, roof. Most people don't do that, okay? And when you take into effect that it's a hand wash, you're getting rid of everything that's on there. So that's why you're paying more for it. Or you can do it yourself, which is what my model is. I mean, I'm not going to pay somebody to do something I can do. But this surface dried pretty quickly. I have very little water spotting, which is good. I've been concerned about that because my water quality isn't that great, and I'm not using any deionized water. I'm just using city water. But I don't have a whole lot of water spots that I'm going to have to contend with because I'm going to take those out with isopropyl alcohol and water mix. I'll show you that when it gets into the detailing video. But the whole reason why you want to do this is to protect the surface, because whatever embeds in this is permanent. You're not going to get rid of it. You're going to damage your clear coat. The paint surface on the Chevrolet models for the 2022 and 2023 models, even the 2020 models, is excellent. I'm not seeing any blemishes. I'm not seeing any scratches. The surface is perfectly smooth. It's amazing how well the quality is. There's not even any orange peel in the paint, which is fantastic. So when I go over it with the Sonax Perfect Finish, all I'm going to be doing is just flattening out some of the lines, but I'm not taking any of the clear coat. It's really, really, really mild. What I'm interested in doing is getting the surface as clean as I can possibly get it, and as virgin as I can get it, and as perfect as I can get it. So when I put the protectant over the top of it, which is the Total Wax Flex Graphene, and these are non-sponsored videos. Nobody's paying me for this. I have purchased all this stuff on my own. One day when I grow up, maybe somebody will send me some stuff, but in the meantime, I'm going to put that graphene on there because that graphene is a 12-month protectant that protects this base coat, clear coat paint. This is the whole reason behind doing this. So if you wonder why it costs $350 to $400 to get your vehicle detailed, you're going to see in the second video the steps that are involved in doing it. But if you're wondering what the justification is for doing it, is if you want this vehicle looking showroom new for years to come, you need to protect it. Environmental is a big deal. I got big leaf trees, hardwood trees above me. I don't even know what they are. All I know is they're aggravating, but I like the shade. I don't want to sacrifice the shade, but I'm going to have to deal with the contaminants that fall out of those trees. So as it rains, there's a lot of acid that's in those leaves. That's just the nature of the way they are. When that acid rolls off of those leaves, especially during rainfall, and it settles on your vehicle, if you have no hydrophobic properties, it settles as a water droplet or bead, and that bead continues to grow on itself because it creates a cavity that can fall back into. So the smaller droplet stains that you see in the paint get bigger and bigger and bigger at the same spot. By putting something like the graphene protectants on there, and I like the 12 months because I like to be able to take them off and redo them. I don't want to put something on and have to wet sand off. So 12 months is good for me, but I'm protecting that paint. So enough of my rambling. I'm going to stop this video, go over, finish the other side of the vehicle, and then probably going to air dry it, and then I'll start in with the Sonax. All right, see you in a bit. So now we're going to talk about step 2, and I'm going to make this quick, so that basically I can go through this explanation in less than 5 minutes without any interruptions, hopefully. So first thing you're going to start off with is an isopropyl alcohol mixed with water, IPA, some people call it, I think. You could buy this if you want to spend the money for it. I don't. So basically what I do is I get 91% isopropyl alcohol, generic's fine, fill the bottle halfway, top it off the rest with water. So that's your IPA. And what this is doing is this is going to get rid of anything that's on the paint. It may have been left soap residue, water spots, whatever the case may be. And it's just as simple as spray and wipe off, spray and wipe off. So use a clean microfiber cloth. Doesn't really matter what kind you're using. I mean, somebody may have a preference. Just make sure you remove your tags. Fold it in fourths. Once you fold it in fourths, you either spray it directly on the surface, or you can spray it on the cloth. Once you do that, just wipe it in. And I'm going to be demonstrating on this quarter panel so that it's easier for you guys to see it. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to see anything if I was doing the roof because I don't have any way of getting my camera that high. But you're basically just going to try to wipe down to get rid of any potential contaminants that you've got. And the IPA, believe it or not, works really well on windows too. So I'm going to be using several of my go-tos for products. The stuff that I'm the most comfortable with and the stuff that I believe is the most forgiving, where you don't have to worry about damaging anything. And I'm going to be doing this process with an orbital buffer. And in places where it's not a level surface, I'm just going to use the spray-on wax. But the first step's important to make sure that you've got a clean surface to work off with. So, alright, so the wipe down's done using the IPA. Put it down out of the way. So, next step is Sonax Perfect Finish. It's high gloss, and it's got a lot of cleaning properties, smoothing properties. So basically all we're trying to do is we're trying to get the surface as flat as we can get it and as clean as we can get it, and that's what the Sonax does. Very, very forgiving, especially when used with a DA orbital buffer. This is a Milwaukee. This battery's huge. It's the batteries that I had. I got tool only. But basically what makes this work so well is instead of having a rotary motion which would potentially cause burning or scratching, it's a kind of a warble, if you want to call it that. So it's moving in multiple directions. So you don't really have to worry about any burning through issues or anything like that. I'm using the Rupes high performance fine polishing pad. It's a yellow pad, and that process is pretty simple. Center it. Hopefully your camera's seeing this. Get it close. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Biggest thing, this is a brand new pad. It's never been used. It can be re-washed. You can use a soap and water and clean this down and then let it air dry, and it's good for multiple uses. But you want to try to condition it a little bit so that it doesn't have so much of an abrasiveness to it when you first start it. So a couple sprays, it might have been a little bit too much. No big deal. Wiping it in a little bit. It just softens it up a bit and makes it to where it doesn't absorb as much of the polish. A couple drops of the Sonax to prime the pad. I don't put a lot on there. It tends to soak into the foam of the pad. So this is kind of a thick pad, which makes it a little bit more forgiving. So what I tend to do is just daub it in so that it doesn't spin all over the place. And you're going to start this at really low RPMs when you start with it anyway. And you're just going to rub it around a little bit with your finger. I mean, I don't think this stuff's going to hurt you. Some people wear gloves. I'm not really concerned about wax. I'm more concerned about chemicals, like washing chemicals. All right, so once you've applied a little bit of it to it, your lowest RPM setting on your polisher. And I need something to wipe my hand off with here. There we go. Blot it in a couple times to move it around. Starting out low, rub it in. Just to work it around. There's quite a bit of it there, so I'm going to stick to the flatter surfaces with it and not get near the edges or the decals. Then I've sped up on my machine. Basically going to go in a horizontal and then an up and down motion. Once I've got it worked into the area that I'm going to be doing, go back over that high area first before turning up RPM so there's no spin off. Got it in there. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit with the camera so you can really get an idea of what that's doing, because you probably can't see anything from there. Let's go right into here. Let's try that. Alright, so now this worked in a little bit, we're going to be able to come up on the RPMs with it attached to the surface. Third pass is going to be up and down. And just finishing off, I need the high spots with the polish. Set it off with it attached to the surface so it doesn't spin out. Now, with foam pads, they tend to collect a lot of this residue. So if you wanted to go to a next panel, such as maybe I want to get this right here, instead of reapplying, just push in a couple times. It's probably going to give you enough for another pass. Speed it up. Shut it off. I always bring it back to its lowest setting. Now it's removal. It's wipe on, wipe off. It dries clear. Doesn't really turn white. It's pretty easy to work with. Again, tag's removed. This is a small cloth that I'm using for this. I would typically use a bigger one. Just trying to get this in before my time runs out on my camera. But quick wipe off. Just to remove the high stuff, whatever's left over. Around this High Country logo, I can already see this is going to be an issue. I'm probably going to have to spend quite a bit of time working around that all the time. But I basically got it cleaned off. So you go through the vehicle per panel or however you're going to do it. In this case, for the video purposes, I'm going to go ahead and switch on to the next step. So I'm going to do one more wipe down with the IPA. What I'm trying to do is get rid of any of that residual residue that's left off. The polish has done its job. It's leveled the surface. Now it's smooth. There's very little friction to it compared to what there is on the top. All right? So in this case, I'm going to spray on the applicator. It really doesn't make any difference. I just don't like the overspray from the alcohol on other surfaces, so I try to do it this way. This makes it much easier to clean out things like this logo edge for the High Country. And wipe down's done. Surface is clean. So again, for the purposes of the video, I'm going to go ahead and switch out pads. And I'm going to go right over to Graphene Flex. So that goes up here. This is the Lake Country Orange pad. If I don't drop it. Lake Country Orange. On, right? A couple sprays to wet the pad. Rub it in. And now graphene to the max. Alright, so Hybrid Solutions Turtle Wax product, graphene infused to the max wax. This is the liquid. There's a spray as well. You can put it on as a spray or you can put it on as a liquid. It's totally up to you. It does not have to be put on with a machine polisher. That's not a requirement. I put it on with a machine polisher because it tends to speed the process with me. I'm comfortable with using the machine, and I feel like I get more consistency with the amount of wax that's applied by doing it with a machine versus with a square microfiber or a microfiber cloth, however you decide you want to do it. So I put a little bit of that in there. All this will come off the truck as soon as I'm done with the video. I basically left it up there so that you can see what I'm using. And I don't have a lot in this. This is one of those products that's kind of liquidy, so I don't like to put a lot into the pad because it soaks into the pad. And then that causes warbling with the pad. You'll have to free spin it occasionally to get rid of that. But it's the same steps. So tap, push it out, move it around, low speed, work it in. Now up and down at a higher RPM. about halfway, and drops. Now, close to this logo, I got less material on the pad, so I have less to clean off. Up and down again for the third pass. Done. I did the limited section because of the limited amount of material that's in the pad. It's still the same principle, right? So, a cloth, preferably wants a little bit more pile than this because it makes it easier to remove it, but right back off. And this stuff dries clear, 12 months of protection, hydrophobic properties, lots and lots of ability for runoff on this. So that's the hugest part of it is you're not going to get a lot of water spotting or a lot of water beading with this product, but the water doesn't stay on the surface and nothing really sticks to it. It makes it 3 times, 4 times easier to clean because you don't have to scrub bugs off because most of it just comes right off of it. Now I can't show you for purposes really just how slick this is, but I can promise you the difference between this and this is significantly different. So now I've got 12 months of protection, hydrophobic properties, UV resistance, and ease and clean. It's a no-brainer. So I hope you enjoyed that. This was real short. I'll try to put a couple of after shots and maybe some better lighting so you can actually see just how much that pops when it's done, but you basically see where it's going. So I hope you like that. All right.